In this class, you need at first nothing more than some access to news and a marker. With the marker, you simply have to underline in the article or post that you have selected the explicit traces that this piece of information has been produced by some people in some circumstances, and that is being disputed or discussed by some other people. Of course, we are not interested in any piece of news, only in those that are dealing with the mobilization of some expert knowledge and where the condition of production of such knowledge are being made visible. And the nice thing is that when they are discussed or disputed, those traces are more easily ferreted out, since the various protagonists mentioned in the piece of news do the job for you, so to speak. They point at the site where this knowledge is being produced and explain why they think it takes such and such a shape. For this first sequence, we want to focus on the explicit linkages established by the authors of the news between some scientific or technical discipline and the rest of society, culture, or politics. Some cases are fairly easy. For instance, if you read the following news item, you will have no difficulty in underlining the names of the protagonists who have a say in assembling the money necessary for research and treatment of AIDS. Nothing extraordinary here, except that you realize that to activate a policy, test and treat, to fight AIDS, or to distribute insecticide-impregnated nets to fight malaria, you need a big amount of money. And to raise and spend this money, you need a number of different institutions. Obama administration, the Bill Gates Foundation, plus many other organizations, from the United Nations to Doctors Without Borders. In this sense, health is deeply political. If, by political, we mean that there is a link to be made between the spread of epidemics, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, around the world, and how public policy bodies, NGOs, foundations, and international institutions manage their affairs. Now, take an entirely different example, this time not in public health, but in a totally esoteric field known as metrology, that is, the science of exact measurement. Well, I'm sure that with this example you might have been pretty surprised by what you have underlined. How come a fundamental constant of the universe is connected with an artifact in a vault in France, held by a bureau, the International Bureau of Weights and Measurement, and kept by a scientist, Dr. Quinn, while a half-dozen teams of scientists are trying to find a replacement for this standard? Well, it happens that metrology, and more broadly what is called standardization, is an essential aspect of the way science may spread throughout the world, and that it is at once the most esoteric and the most in need of solid and durable institution. Here we have a marvelous example of how a major foundation of science functions in practice. Look, a constant remains a constant as long as it stays stable, a beacon of stability in a world of uncertainty, and as long as it periodically compares with its copy, made of platinum, and, I love this one, shipped in diplomatic pouches. The Platonic ideal kept in a safe in Sèvres near Paris, and accessible only for the use of free keys, just as in some Gothic story. This connection between the foundation of physics and the foundation of institution is a good entry, really, into scientific humanities. But a third example will make clear the range of topics you might want to follow in this course. Here, we are not in health, nor in the arcane field of standard, but in a highly controversial domain of social sciences, and in this particular case, of economics. I've been attracted by this opinion piece from the Nobel laureate Paul Krugman, not only because it's about France, but because of the following summary. It's another case of ideology posing as economic analysis. We find here a clear example of a divide between true science and distorted politics that we have to learn how to follow. This is a very nice example of a use of science versus rhetoric way of thinking. An institution, Standard & Poor, and a high official, Olli Rehn from the EU Commission, are accused by Krugman, among others, of seeking to advance an ideological agenda, as if it was based on solid evidence that spending cuts are in fact better than tax increases. But as Krugman states bluntly, this is politics, not economics, which means that economics, as far as it is a science for him, should be made as distinct as possible from ideology. And he writes, since evidence of the virtue of deregulation is decidedly mixed, there is no reason to base on fact what is based on the will, he says, to inflict pain on the poor and the unlucky by dismantling the safety net first. So, behind the face of serious journalist, economist, and official, Krugman paints the action of US fiscal schools and European Austrians. Well, as you say, it's pretty easy. You need a marker and the news. And then you do the inventory in every piece of news of all these actors which are present, and the field of science, humanity will develop in front of your eyes.